Well, we are back. In this survival world, I still don't have a very good source of food, so I decided to go fishing with a sword for a temporary source of food. I wanted to get a better look at my surroundings, so I decided to go around 1,000 blocks in every direction. I started by going north, where I found a snowy taiga. There was a stony shore nearby where I mined some coal. On my way back though, when the sun started to fall, a Trident drown spawned near me. I knew this was a pretty rare occurrence, so I decided to take it out. If I was lucky, I would get the Trident. As I approached, it started hurling Tridents at me. I started to approach it, but it was too strong. I started blocking the Tridents with my shield, but the Tridents were just tearing up the shield to pieces. I took cover next to a tree and tried my best to dodge the Tridents, but it was no use. I hid behind a tree and used the bow I got in the last episode to take it out from there. The first arrow hit its mark. The second arrow as well. And finally, as I drew my bow back for a third time, I launched an arrow as being struck by one of the Tridents at the same time. My enemy fell with a thud, but unfortunately, no Trident was dropped. I started back on my journey back to the house. I dropped off some supplies and headed off again, east this time. I went pretty far when I found some ice spikes mingling with some snowy taiga. I headed back and went west next, where I found an outpost. It was very convenient to find an outpost not 500 blocks away from my spawn, but I decided I wasn't quite ready to take it on. In the south, I found some very beautiful mountains. Not only that, I also found a shipwreck. The first chest in the shipwreck was pretty easy to find, but the second one was much more difficult, and I had to dig through a lot of dirt to find it. In the first chest, I found some iron and gold, but in the second chest, I found some paper and a buried treasure map. I headed off to find the buried treasure. When I finally got to the X, I started digging in the sand and finally found the chest. Unfortunately, my inventory was too full for everything, and there was some pretty good loot. The shipwreck and buried treasure together got me 22 iron ingots and some nuggets. I was hundreds of blocks away from spawn, but I had to go back to drop off some things and then come back for the rest. After that, I found another shipwreck, which led me to another buried treasure, and I found an underwater ruined portal. So I made a few plant farms and decided that I needed a good source of food, and sweet berries just wasn't going to cut it. I decided to make a cow thresher, which is a 1x1 block area where I breed cows, and eventually there are so many cows that entity cramming just kills them off. Every time I breed new ones, cows will die, and the drops will fall into hoppers, which will take them into chests. I set the cow thresher up, but I needed to start breeding the cows so I could get enough cows for entity cramming. It took a while, but eventually, I started getting profits. I started getting leather, which would help me later, and steak that I could cook and get a really good source of food. Once I was ready, I headed back down into the cave where I almost died last time to see if I could get a little more fortunate. The cave was deep and there was lots to explore, but eventually I found a mine shaft. The mine shaft was huge and there was a lot of mobs. I was expecting just to be able to handle them with what I've got at this point, but after taking out a few zombies, I had two ferocious baby zombies attack me, one with a shovel. I tried to stand my ground, but it was no use. I have no idea why they did not die, but I was taken out first. After that embarrassing interaction, I dug straight down to where I had died and collected my stuff and got most of it back. Not 10 seconds after I got my stuff back, I was checking my inventory and sorting everything out when a creeper silently walked up behind me and just boom. This time I made a water bucket and used that to get down the hole. I got most of my stuff back again and started hunting around the mine shaft where I did find 2 diamonds. That was enough for an enchanting table. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. A lot happened so far, so make sure to check out the next episode where I continue on my journey.